Part 1.
Humans and vampires coexisted until one night when vampires went to war with humanity. As people were scrambling to run away, Xin and her brother Zhao were told by their mother to be quiet and never come out. Before them, they witnessed their parents being murdered by a vampire. Years later, Xin wakes up having dreamt of that night again. Inside the classroom, she overhears students boast about how they serve their vampires. She's asked by another student to bring some papers to the music classroom. Meanwhile, the prince of the vampires, Luo, is frustrated that his latest meal tasted disgusting. Just then, Xin enters the room, and upon seeing Roy, she bolts away. Luo catches up to her, offended that she ignored him. When she struggles to get away, he thinks it's a ploy to pique his interest. He moves to drink from her, and Xin, who can only remember the vampire that murdered her parents, slaps him, cutting his cheek with her nails. Provoked, he drags her into the school's balcony where he loudly declares that Xin is his enemy. As she runs away, Luo thinks about how much he despises humans for being greedy. Years ago, his brother Day told him that Flay, a blood slave that took care of him, left even though he promised never to leave him. His brother then says vampires and humans can never be together. In the present, he watches Xin being bullied. Her hair reminds him of Flay. She continues to run with no one helping her until she's tripped by someone, before collapsing at the bottom of the stairs. After beating Xin up, Mesa lets its subordinates assault her, but they're interrupted when Luo arrives. He drives them away and sternly tells Mesa off. When they leave, Luo licks the cut on Xin's forehead, healing it. Luo tells his maids to take care of Xin. Later, Day comments that he's been willful, as Luo is the one who punished the girl, yet was also the one who saved her. He thinks that Xin's hair is reminding him of Flay. When Luo returns to Xin's room, she's missing. Meanwhile, Xin runs, desperately looking for a way out of the woods. The crows that could have been chasing her make her fall off a cliff, but she is saved just in time by Luo. The branch he's holding breaks and the two fall. Luo ends up bleeding, and he tells Xin to get lost as he may end up sucking all her blood. She offers him her blood as she doesn't want to owe a vampire anything. He caresses her body, but he doesn't drink from her, saying it's better if she owes him. Meanwhile, they're being observed by Day from afar. After she escapes from his embrace, he tells her that the forest has a miasma that makes people become lost. As he leads her out of the forest, she yanks her hand from his grip, saying she doesn't like him touching her. He comments that she trembles whenever he touches her and says he likes seeing her fearful expression. She pushes him away before fleeing. Deep in the forest, she sees her brother judge her for being defiled by vampires. Suddenly, she wakes up back in the manor with the window in her room barred off. She demands to be let out, and Luo, who overhears the noise, tells her that after she ran off, the miasma caused her to hallucinate before losing consciousness. She would have died eventually if not for him. She begs him to let her go home. He would if she's going to be his blood slave, or else she can let her brother take her place. He leaves while Xin cries. Meanwhile, Zhao is excited as his sister will be returning from school that day. The women gossip that if it weren't for his severe heart disease, his looks would have taken the liking of many vampire nobles. Zhao thinks that if it weren't for any scholarships that would pay for his treatment, his sister would have never studied at the school run by vampires. Suddenly, he's approached by Xin's schoolmate, who tells him that his sister has been taken away by Prince Luo. Luo's maids inform him that Xin hasn't eaten for 2 days. Pissed, he tells her to eat, but she only tells him that she wants to go home, even for just a day. They're interrupted by the butler, who informs Luo that Xin's little brother wants to visit her. Luo tells her she should be happy, but Xin is horrified, thinking he can't let her brother see her with a vampire. When he realizes she doesn't want to let her brother see her in her deprived state, he makes her hide behind the curtain, while he summons Zhao inside. Zhao begs the vampire to let his sister off. He's panting hard while asking Luan Yi to let him take her place. He clutches his chest before losing consciousness. Xin rushes towards her brother while Luo instructs his men to get the best doctor around. Later, they are told by the doctor that Xin was treated timely, but he recommends that in his condition he should be hospitalized. Luo arranges for it to be done while thinking that the situation's gotten troublesome. Suddenly, Xin faints too. When she wakes up, Luo informs her that her brother is recuperating at the capital's best hospital. She wants to see him, but he tells her to eat first. Upon noticing her hands shaking, he takes the bowl and feeds her the food himself. Later, Xin visits Zhao in the hospital, who the doctors say will be fine. He's much more concerned about his sister's situation at school. He's frustrated that he's useless. She comforts him, saying it's not his fault. Luo observes from the door, surprised that she can also smile. After the visit, she tells him that she won't run away anymore. At school, human girls continue to bully Xin. However, someone finally intervenes, Sinai, a member of the disciplinary committee. At the clinic, Xin is concerned that Sinai will be dragged into her situation, but he says humans should help each other. He recommends sticking with him for a while. The other students judge her for cozying up to a disciplinary committee member, but Sinai tells her not to be bothered by them. The two have a pleasant exchange, which Luo witnesses. The vampire interrupts them before dragging Xin away. At his manor, he accuses her of forgetting who she is. He notices the wound on her cheek, and she tells him it's the consequence of him putting a target on her back. Luo gets pissed as he's guilty, which Xin notices. After licking her cheek to heal it, he tells her to take her clothes off. Suddenly, he changes his mind and says that she's punished her a little. If she involves herself with another person, she won't escape the next time. The next day, Sanai approaches Xin again, concerned for her welfare. She avoids him, saying that she doesn't want to involve him. When he notices the puncture wounds on her neck, Xin hurries off. That night, Luo asks her how things went with Sanai, and she replies she stayed away from him. He then drags her to the balcony, where they practice dancing. He tells her that this weekend he will take her to a vampire ball, as he's required to attend with a blood servant. Xin backs away in fear before quickly fleeing. Xin emerges and comments that Luo used to attend balls alone, and he replies that he wants to show her that he can only save her. Meanwhile, Xin reaches the manor's fountain, where she encounters Day. He touches her hair, saying it resembles that of a certain blood servant. He pushes her into the fountain. Day tells Xin that Luo is only interested in her because she resembles Flay, Luo's favorite blood servant when he was still a child, so she should not have expectations. He's telling her about Flay when Luo interrupts him. He tells him to stop saying things behind his back and not to lecture his blood servant. He orders Xin to stand up, offering his hand, which she accepts. As they walk away, Xin's heart is a mess, confused why Luo is gentle with her. He then tells her to be careful around his brother. That night, she dreams of meeting a blonde woman, but she doesn't see her face, nor does she know her name. At school, she receives a phone call from Zhao's doctor, saying her brother is in critical condition. Worried, she rushes outside and begs to be let through the school gates. She's refused as students are required permission from the teachers to leave the campus, but they've all gone home already. She tries to explain her situation, but she's still refused when Sanai suddenly shows up. He advises her to steal Luo's nobility badge, as it can be used as a permit through the gates. As she doesn't want to steal, she says she'll borrow it, but Sanai is convinced that Luo will refuse as the badge is